I'm here to tell you about Uniglide friction reducing concentrate. It's a clear 10W30 semi-synthetic oil concentrate metal treatment, and it's used for engines, diffs, gearbox, petrol, diesel, manual, automatic, hydraulics. And we test it on a Timken Tester, which is a standard piece of test equipment used to show the properties of conventional oils and how conventional oils will operate and perform with Uniglide added. Alright, this is the Timken Tester. It's an electric motor, belt drive onto a shaft, which turns this rotating bearing, and that's an outer race from a Timken bearing. And it has a cantilever arrangement with a roller bearing in the clamp. And we add weights. Each weight is 1/2 kilogram to load up the forces between the rotating bearing and the static bearing with a sump that's filled with oil. And you'll see the amp draw increase as the load increases. So what we're going to do is we're going to run this Timken Tester with no oil at all. So we can see what the effect will be on the bearings when there's no lubrication. As you can see, it's seized with 2 kilograms, which is 4 plates, seized solid. Alright, you can see that's taken a severe bite out of that hardened steel. We knew it was going to seize, and this is the result. Alright, we're now going to do a comparison. We're going to run a conventional engine oil. This is as good as any other engine oil that's out there, and this is readily available in any spares outlet, in any workshop, to be used in your sedan or your truck, whatever it might be. We're now moving this bearing onto fresh metal so we can have a nice comparison. This is the sump that we'll be using. It simulates a splash feed sump. As you can see, there's oil picked up by that bearing. We're now going to be adding the static bearing and load this bearing up to show you what load it takes before it seizes the electric motor. Okay, as you can see, it's seized with 2 kilograms of load, just like it did with unlubricated sump. Alright, as you can see, that was unlubricated, and the wear is a bit longer. And here it was lubricated with conventional engine oil. Still a significant bite taken out of that hardened steel. Alright, now we're going to move this bearing onto fresh metal again. We're now going to be adding a bit of Uniglide friction reducing concentrate to this conventional engine oil. As you can see, it's a clear 10W30 semi-synthetic oil. It pours easily. There's no Teflon, graphite, moly, lead. There's no solid components that can clog your filter, sludge your oil, and cause havoc inside your equipment that you're treating. 1 plate, 1/2 kilogram. Notice the lack of the noise. There's not that screeching of tortured metal. 1.5 kilos. The amp draw is still pretty low. It hasn't increased to any great extent. The previous tests, the machine was seized solid at 4 plates or 2 kilograms. There's 2.5. 7 plates, that's 3.5. 4 kilos. 4.5. 5. 5.5, 6 kilograms, and you still have a very, very low amp draw and no screeching of tortured metal. We've reduced the friction significantly. We're now going to inspect the area of wear on the bearing. Right, the first wear with no oil, a significant bite. The second wear scar was conventional oil that seized at 2 kilograms, and then with 6 kilograms, the wear scar is negligible. It's much smaller than both of those. As you can see, there's a significant difference. In the event that there's contamination in your oil, or there's a crack in your air intake and you're sucking dust through your motor, that's going to be an expensive repair. We're going to simulate a vastly exaggerated contamination of the oil and show you how we can still protect your assets. That's garden soil. You'd hope that you don't get that in your engine oil. You can see the dirt being picked up. See, the amp draw is still low. The amp draw has grown marginally, but bear in mind it was seized at 2 kilograms previously, and here we have 6 kilograms. So we've protected the metal. So what I've just demonstrated is the bonding process between the active ingredients in Uniglide friction reducing concentrate and metal. So we protect the metal, we're not treating the oil. That's the oil with Uniglide in it, and that's the oil with Uniglide and sand. And you can see we've protected that metal quite significantly. Okay, so we're going to remove the lubrication. So the sump is off. I'm going to clean off this bearing. The sum total of the lubrication is the residual Uniglide on the rotating bearing. All right, there's no tortured metal sound. Half a kilo, 1 kilo, 1.5. Without Uniglide, it will seize solid at 2 kilograms. 2.5, 3, 3.5. 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5, 6. Have a look at the amp draw. It's hardly grown at all. As you can see, the wear scar is very, very small. And this just demonstrates how Uniglide can protect your asset. Once it's on the metal, you don't get it off unless you machine it off. And this is particularly important where you're talking about cold start wear in engines. Everyone knows that about 90% of engine wear takes place on cold start. Before the oil pressure builds up and gets your oil through the top of the motor, it's dry. Uniglide doesn't drain down with the rest of the oil, it stays attached to the upper reaches of your motor and helps protect your assets.